Yes. How are we all doing, people? Welcome one, welcome all back to the channel. It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a while since I've streamed, but you should all be used to this by now. You should all be used to this by now. By the way, I have literally just got out the shower 20 minutes ago. So if you see me messing around with my hair loads, it's because it's just gonna get me way. But it's good to see you all, one and all. The professional one here would have everything ready, but my thing is I'm not professional. So for the first minute or two, I'm gonna be fixing this so I can get my chat working. So don't worry about that. I've got it up on the side here. I just can't bring it up on the screen, but I'll fix that pretty quickly. But it's good to be back. I know yesterday wasn't great in terms of the result, but it is what it is. It is what it is, isn't it? So I'm gonna break it down today with a new piece of software. Now, you all know, you're all smart. You all know about James Lawrence Alcott. He has recently released a fantastic piece of kit that anyone can use, which will allow you to do tactical board analysis in the way I've been doing it the last couple of weeks, and most importantly, it will allow you. Have I got it all set up? Wait there. Oh, where's it gone? There it is. Are we good? I think we're good now. So I might be able to see all your messages now, eh? Let's give it a go. But what it means is that is what we are going to be using today. That's what we're going to be using today to break down everything of what we're seeing. Again, as you can see, I'm very professional, so much so that I'm trying to fix my OBS whilst I'm live. This one needs to go to nope, it needs to go to this one. But before we get into it, I want to know what you lot thought of the game yesterday, because it seemed to be a very divisive game. The result seems to have pissed a lot of people off, despite the fact that it's the Community Shield, and it's never bothered people before until now. So in the chat, let me know what your immediate reaction to the game yesterday is. How are you feeling afterwards? Because I know some people have been very, very angry and very sort of worked up about it. I'm looking at it going, it is what it is. I've seen a lot worse from us at points like this in the season. I've seen a lot better from us at points like this in the season. But ultimately, it's not the worst, it's not the best. I saw enough from that from the start of that game to just keep me ticking over. To just keep me satisfied with what I'm seeing. There are some things that I am going to need to touch on and talk about. But for now, I saw enough. Yeah, my fucking thingy isn't working. Right, okay. I'm just going to stop you all from waiting. So, let's just get straight into this. Let's just get straight into this. Is this going to work? Should be this one. There we go, people. Look at this. So, to start off yesterday, we set out in a 4-2-3-1. Alisson in goal, Frimpong, Canate, Van Dijk, Kerkez, Soberstein, Jones pivot because Gravenberch's missus just had a baby, so congratulations to him, and McAllister still isn't 100% fit. And then we saw the front four of Salah, Wirtz, Gakpo, and Hugo up top. And we were up against a Palace team that lined up in their 3-4-2-1 which caused us a number of problems at some point, which I'll get into. But they had Henderson in goal, Tyreek Mitchell and Munoz as the wing backs, with Chris Richards, Maxence Lacroix and Mark Gahey. At centre back, Will Hughes came on for Daichi Kamada quite early on. Adam Wharton, who was very impressive on the day. Ismail Yassar, who always causes problems. Eberechi Eze and Jean-Philippe Mateta. Now, on the face of it, we should be fine. Liverpool should be getting the better of Crystal Palace. And before we get into how Palace lined up against us, I want to look at how we wanted to play. So Liverpool yesterday wanted to build up like some. So Hugo would be in and around the box. Wirtz would drift wherever he was needed, but it was more often there. Cody would be off wide. Salah there, but he was typically a little bit more inside, with Frimpong getting the width. Szoboszlai and Curtis, with Virgil, Ibu, and Kerkez. Now, what I'm going to start with is the gripe I have with how we set up our rest shape. So, what Liverpool should do is this. This is very typical, but it's very typical because it works. What Liverpool ended up doing at large points yesterday, because Milos Kerkez wants to get forwards, he will go there, which isn't, crisis. That can work as long as one of these two fills in, and then you end up getting your back three again. And it's quite lopsided, but because Szoboszlai has the ability to play that long raking pass, you can somewhat get away with it. But Curtis didn't do that. Curtis would sit there. So Liverpool would form a wonderful little shape here. If I just get me tool. We'd form a wonderful little square there, which would occasionally become a 5 if Hugo drifted in. Salah would be isolated. Frimpong would be isolated. Curtis would be isolated. And when in this wonderful little pentagon, the ball was lost, Palace would look to... Oh, no. Palace would look to clear that up into that area, or clear it up into that area, or clear it up into here. Now, if I just remove the drawing, what you'll end up seeing is... Oh, where's the Palace team gone? Bring this back, please. It's not here. It's not showing up. Why is it not showing up? Oh, my God. Something's always going wrong with me. Basically, what I wanted to show you before it all broke was that Ismail Yassar and... what's his name? Eberechi Eze. And especially Munoz as well. Munoz was a real threat with this. They were waiting for us to give the ball away. The ball would be sent up here towards Jean-Philippe Mateta. One of our centre-backs would commit onto Mateta and more often than not lose the duel to Mateta. And by losing the duel to Mateta, what that then does is, as we're busting a gut to get back because we've committed loads forwards, he's holding it up. And you've got the space there, and all Mateta was doing, sometimes he was just doing the flick on, but at other points, he would just lay it back to where Adam Wharton was, and Wharton would ping. Adam Wharton had like a 70% pass completion yesterday. But he had a 70% pass completion because... there they are, the back. But it's not done the correct lineup. Wait there. If I just go to this and then load this one, it should have me the correct lineup. There we go. So I can showcase it properly now. See, I'm getting somewhere. So we were set up like this. We were trying to attack like this. Ekatike would be over there. Richards would be moving over. Wharton would be sitting there. Lacroix there. Gay there. Salah would be on Gahey. Wirtz would be sitting in this pocket. Hughes would be alongside. Eze would be on Jones. Sarr would be on Kerkez. Szoboszlai. Mateta will be waiting up here. Van Dijk, Ibu Konate, and Jeremy Frimpong, with Mitchell looking after him. So this was how it looked a lot. It looks a little bit messy, but this is how it lined up and looked. Hughes would occasionally press onto Szoboszlai if he was central. Or it would be sort of sacrifice Szoboszlai, maybe Wharton would press up, and then Lacroix would press up. And Eze would have a little bit more of a free spot there. But what would happen is we'd lose the ball, it'd get pinged up to Mateta, and it was more often than not Van Dijk rushing in, losing the duel very poorly. And then what happens when he loses the duel? Sarr, boom, with Kerkez chasing him. Munoz as well was a real problem with this, because Gakpo had to track him, and whilst Gakpo was alright, I thought Gakpo put in the work. He's not a wing back, so there was some real problems with that. Eze be making the run, and if Mateta couldn't find it first time, he'd simply wait for Szoboszlai to start tracking back. Wharton would be there. Wharton would play the long ball. Sarr's in. Munoz is in. Problems for Liverpool Football Club. I don't like the way we set up in terms of the 2-2 whatever. I don't like setting up with the two defensively. I don't like it. I feel like it leaves you too exposed to teams that want to hit you on the counter-attack, and teams want to hit Liverpool on the counter-attack at every possible opportunity. And it doesn't work with the current with the lineup yesterday. Now, let me preface this before anyone jumps and tries to overreact and make out I'm saying something I'm not. This dynamic can work if... Where is he? This man plays. Because... I'm just going to move Jones out for now. Ryan Gravenberch is tactically intelligent enough to sit in there, or to sit in there on a consistent basis. That means that in the moment where Milos Kerkez goes on and pushes up and tries to create something and tries to be something and tries to, do what he does, which you don't want to necessarily sacrifice from his game as an attack-minded defender, you don't lose the coverage. We are defending, or we defended at points yesterday, like we did in Jurgen Klopp's final season, and I had a massive gripe with how we defended in that final season. I really didn't like it. And at points yesterday, we were doing the same thing. And what it often meant was Florian Wirtz has to drop in here. You don't want Florian Wirtz in this area. You want Florian Wirtz up here. You want Florian Wirtz affecting the game higher up the pitch. But at points, he's having to drop in there because we couldn't progress the ball well enough. It was a real problem. Now, there's nothing you can do about Gravenberch, so you have to look at the way Jones is. And Jones isn't going to do that. Kerkez isn't going to do that. What you almost had to do then, and people aren't going to like this, I don't think Kerkez was bad. He wasn't bad. He's just a little bit eager. He's a little bit hyper in these first couple of games that I've seen of him. He's a little bit hyper. One could argue that this might have been the slightly safer option for the first game. Because Robertson does have a little bit more discipline about him. He still has moments, and Sarr would have, caused some real problems. But he has the discipline, which means when Jones goes walkabouts up here, Liverpool aren't exposed in these areas. Palace's danger men are the wide areas, and we left. There was just so much space there, so much space in behind there. Frimpong and Kerkez, they were tracking back. It's a big difference from what we had last year, where we had 66 who wouldn't track back. Frimpong and Kerkez will get up there and will sprint back. But it's the moments where we lose it and they're just too far ahead of the ball. When we lose it and they're just too far ahead of the ball, we have a real problem. A real problem. So how do we look? How do we look at this lineup? And maybe what was right. Well, when Kerkez was back there, when Kerkez was in that position and Soboslai had a little bit more of a license, I really liked. Let me just hide the Palace one for now. I really liked what we ended up forming here. So Soboslai would quite often sit a little bit deeper, and there would be moments, especially when Ekitike stayed centrally, where this would be the triangle to watch. That would be the triangle to watch. And it would be Gakpo coming inside, Verts moving outside, Soboslai moving up, or it would be Verts dropping into the pocket, Soboslai running out wide, Gakpo there, or there was even a point where Soboslai made the run on, Verts dropped into the hole, Gakpo stayed wide. There was probably also a moment where Soboslai was wide. Very dynamic footballers, all rotating positions, and when it wasn't Soboslai would be sitting there. It was these three. And they had a really nice dynamic going on. Hugo Ekitike, it's been well documented that I wasn't 100% sold on him, and I'd still prefer to have Alexander Isak up top. But Hugo Ekitike is a very smart footballer, and he impressed me a lot yesterday. He impressed me a lot yesterday with his little touches, his little movements, his little elements. I loved the moments where Ekitike would drift wide, Gakpo would drop in, Verts would go there, and it'd be nice little link-ups. For the goal, it was this. Liverpool looked like this for the Ekitike goal. Everyone is in the complete alternate positions, but because they're all smart footballers and because they're all technically sound footballers, it makes a lot of sense and it works. And this triangle shows me that the idea of Alexander Isak fitting into this team alongside the Hugo Ekitike, alongside the Florian Wirtz, doesn't worry me. Because if Ekitike, for example, moves out there and we have Isak, these two can rotate these positions. Wirtz can move out wide. What we have in this is a very dynamic triangle, which when Maka, who I think will be there, when Maka is there, you have the right coverage. You have the intelligent coverage behind it. Now, there's certain people who aren't going to like this. Dominic Szoboszlai is not a shit footballer, but Dominic Szoboszlai cannot play in a pivot with Curtis Jones. It lacks intelligence. It lacks quality reading of the game from a defensive point of view. When you are in a pivot, especially when you are in the dominant team pivot, you are not needed to be going here, there, and everywhere in the way Szoboszlai was in the 10 last year. When you're in the pivot, you need to shuttle lanes, and you need to be cutting out passes that are trying to break through it towards the striker. The most successful line they had, Crystal Palace had, if I bring up the team again, it was balls through to Mateta, whilst Liverpool were caught in transition. It was balls over the top or through the lines into Mateta. The opposition striker should not be allowed to bring the ball under control and hold it up as consistently as Mateta was allowed to do yesterday. Szoboszlai and Jones, as defensive-minded players, they're not that. They're not defensive-minded footballers. What you end up seeing is they would either jump onto this man, which just makes the pass easier, or they would be a half second late to the interception, leaving them slightly out of position, and Mateta would sit there and play the pass off. Now, a lot of it's out of Arne Slot's hands because Gravenberch wasn't available and McAllister was barely fit. And I understand that in 99% of the situations, he's not going to play a Szoboszlai Curtis Jones pivot again. But that's an area where it went wrong for Liverpool yesterday. It's an area where it went wrong for Liverpool yesterday. The fact that my double pivot could not be able to consistently win the ball back. Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones had one interception between them. One interception. I don't have the stats on hand, but I'm pretty confident in saying that either that, or that, or that, one of them three will be the second or third most common pass of the game. Obviously, you've got your whole centre-back to centre-back to centre-back to centre-back. They're normally quite high up. But in terms of getting the balls to the front line, it was just balls fired through the lines because our midfield did not have the IQ to intercept it. Ryan Gravenberch made 60 interceptions in the Premier League last year. McAllister made 25, I think. Szoboszlai made 8. Yesterday made none. Curtis Jones made 1. When we are not winning the ball back in this area of the pitch, when all our players are in advanced positions, Liverpool Football Club are fucked. They're fucked. And I worry, which is something I'll show next when we go into the actual match analysis bit, I worry that if we consistently play, if more teams adapt back fives against us, we'll run into some of the same problems that we ran into against Crystal Palace. Right, control delete. What do you want me to say? Virgil van Dijk had a shit game. Virgil van Dijk is not a problem. You're sitting there trying to run this fucking agenda against Virgil van Dijk. He's been ill, so he's not 100% fit. And yes, he didn't have a good game. But I'm not going to sit there and go, he's washed, he's finished, he's slow, like you've been trying to do. He's the best centre-back on the planet. He was the best centre-back in the world last year. I have much more trust in him coming back and returning to his levels. He had a shit game. It happens. Fuck me. Anyway. So, the point I want to look at. In fact, I can't bring it up on screen. I apologise, Liam. In fact, I think there was another one earlier. Akia, why'd you have to go live so late? I'm so tired, so I'm head to bed. Big up you, Reds. Isak comes soon. Big up yourself, Akia. Appreciate the super chat. And Liam, for the super chat, is interesting. We chose to overload left side, not right. The reason we choose to overload the left side, though, is because if I take Palace away just for now, Liverpool's setup is to give the creative players runners around them. We overload the left side, like so, and Frimpong's a runner. Oh, didn't mean that one. Because our most common avenues of attack, when we have Gravenberch or when we have when we have Gravenberch and McAllister, I'm not going to put them in, but when we have them there, is either that long ball. When it's Szoboszlai, it's that long ball. But to get the space that you need, you can't have him there and him there, because the opposition will be sitting there with, I might as well bring them up, Gahey, Lacroix, Hughes will be over, Warren will be over, Richards will be over, Munoz will be tucked in because Gakpo will be there, Jones will be there, Szoboszlai will be there, and what you see is there's just too much crowding round Salah. He's not going to do anything in that situation. He can't do anything. There's no options, there's no runs, there's nothing for him to work with, and it means that the centre-back, which is I think an inherent problem up against the back three, the centre-back can stick on Mohamed Salah. I think we missed Bradley a little bit yesterday, to be honest. Not to say Frimpong had a bad game, because Frimpong, I thought I was actually quite impressed with what he done. But Frimpong, best way I can do it if I clear all these Jordans, Frimpong runs that way. Bradley runs that way. Up against the back five, where it's going to be the centre-back jumping onto Salah. We need that run. Because what that run will do, imagine this is Bradley, or it could be Frimpong if he gets the IQ. With him running there, he is now stuck in two minds. He can either stick on Salah, so let's just say the ball's here, he can stick on Salah, and then hope that Lacroix or Hugh or Richards or whatever can get over, but it leaves a mismatch potentially. Or he can jump onto Frimpong, trust Mitchell to get all the way back onto Salah, but all Mohamed Salah needs is that half second. The moment where it's like this, you see how he's not got... Here, this is what I want. See how now he's got that space around him? Mohamed Salah will kill you if you give him that much space. He will kill you if you give him that much space. Bradley is exceptional at that run. Frimpong isn't making that run yet. He's not doing it, which is fine. It might just not be the type of player that he is. But against back fives, I think Conor Bradley needs to play. Because the type of run he makes frees up Mohamed Salah. And Liverpool need to continue to play through Mohamed Salah. It helped Palace isolate Liam, because one, we didn't go to him enough. The passing just simply wasn't there. Because there's no Gravenberch or McAllister, they are better passers. The ball wasn't getting to Salah consistently enough. It also doesn't help that Florian Wirtz is a naturally left-sided player, which is, I think, one thing that is going to need to be factored in when we look at Mohamed Salah. Last year, Dominic Szoboszlai liked to run this way. Just imagine this is Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai liked to operate in this area with Salah and Alexander-Arnold. Wirtz wants to operate on the left. Wirtz wants to be dropping into these areas. That means that with Ekitike going over as well, for example, what ends up happening is there's no guy here to link up the play to Salah. I think either Wirtz needs to start going there, or either the right back needs to sit there, which I don't think it should be, or we have to free up one of the midfielders at points to step up into that area and progress the ball, which is why we really need Milos Kerkez to gain the discipline. If Milos Kerkez gains the positional discipline that I think he needs, we all of a sudden have the ability to push him on into spaces slightly more advanced, because we know that if we're up against the front three, we're going man-to-man on them. And I can back us defending man-to-man. The problem was yesterday, at too many points, opponents were running at us 3v2. They were running at us 3v2. And he'd have him busting a gut to get back, he'd have him busting a gut to get back. But these two, Van Dijk and Konate, were defending 3v2s. You cannot consistently put your centre-backs in 3v2s. They won't win them. Indie Bomber. I haven't even got my stream set up for Indie Bomber, so you'll have to tell me. Oh god, bad, he replied to me tweet. That's going to go well, isn't it? Yeah, brilliant. What is it? Where's Indie? Sorry, is Indie's Bomber about fucking Vinny? Why are you telling me about an Indie Bomber for fucking Vinny Jr.? I don't care. I don't care. I want me Alexander Isak news. Oh, that's boring, that. Don't care about that. Anyway. So, this is basically everything I wanted to talk about on the tactical side of things with the board. Let's see if this side is spot on. Hold on, you want me to read out the Indicalia Bomber about Man City? Vinny Jr. looks like he's been in secret talks with Man City. The Real Madrid star is considering a move away from Real Madrid. The player does have concerns with all the uncertainty surrounding those 115 charges against Man City. It's no surprise he's weighing his options just in case. The Manchester clubs, Liverpool, Arsenal and Chelsea are monitoring the situation. The player is very keen on the Premier League for this or next summer. I think that's an indie special, people. I don't think it's necessarily one of them ones. I think it's a bit of an indie special. So, who knows? But this, let's see if I have this set up. Hey, look at this. We are bordering on professional, people. We're bordering on professional. Look at this. Tactical analysis. So this is going to better explain my gripe with Liverpool in possession. If we look here, we have the back three formed. Not that I'm the biggest fan of that back three. Konate, Van Dijk and Curtis Jones in there. Salah out wide for the case of Curtis plays it back, and then Van Dijk can play that long ball out to him where he can go 1v1 with Tyreek Mitchell. But if we are looking here, Gakpo's over here, out wide. My left back, my centre mid, my 10, my right back. We're in a 3-6-1. We're in a 3-6-1. But look, especially at... Where's my circle one? Him. And him. If Curtis Jones loses the ball here, if he tries a pass that gets intercepted there, or it gets intercepted there, or whatever, if that ball is lost... Both of the Crystal Palace wide attackers are ahead of both of our fullbacks. They're both ahead of them. This was too big of a problem yesterday. When we were up against a team that wants to hit us on the counter-attack consistently and often dangerously. When we're up against teams that want to hit us dangerously and consistently on the counter-attack, you cannot be allowing their attackers to be ahead of your fullbacks. Because all that's going to happen is we are again going to be put in the situations where it is 3v2. 3v2, it's a real problem. But this is for the goal. I want to... We're not just going to look at the negatives, we're going to look at the positives. This is in the build-up to the goal. And this is, again, talking about the fluidity of that left-hand side. Now, the reason why I'm less angry, because it's going to sound stupid now, Keke's being there, mega. Got no problem with it then. Because Frimpong isn't up here. Because there's no Frimpong here, I have no problem with Keke's being there. But what I really want to look at is the triangle that I mentioned earlier. Szoboszlai, Gakpo, Wirtz. Wirtz is currently sat deep. And you get to see how smart and how good of a fucking footballer Florian Wirtz is here. But this is the fluidity. Typically, it should be the other way around. But because we need to get Florian Wirtz on the ball, and because Dominic Szoboszlai is progressing the ball forwards for us, we end up with that dynamic. And it means that the pair of them are free. Wharton's not near. Kerkez has run, dragged people away. Gakpo came back. So right now, which is, again, what we need to exploit more, this is the current Crystal Palace back five in this situation. Right back, right centre-back, central centre-back, left centre-back, left wing back. Look at the gap. Look at the gap here. That is an exploitable gap. Where that centre-back's come out and that wing-back isn't ready, that is the exploitable gap. And because of how we're set up, and because of how smart and intelligent footballers are, the moment Florian Wirtz gets the layoff, and even then, look, the back line hasn't formed again. It's still jutted out. This is where I need to give the lad who I was a little bit, nervous about, a lot of praise. Hugo Ekitike is an incredibly smart footballer. He is an incredibly smart footballer. And the moment Florian Wirtz gets on that ball, which is what happens when some of the best players in the world get on the football, people make runs, he's already asking for it. He's calling for it right there. Florian, play the ball here. Put the ball right there. And what does Florian do? Because he's that good of a footballer, Florian puts the ball there. But again, let's look at the dynamic of this. Now, Gakpo's at the base of the triangle, and Wirtz is rotated with him, while Szoboszlai's remained in his position. Again, fluidity. It's how you create gaps. It's how you kill teams. And then for the goal, again, we can now factor Ekitike into this. Szoboszlai is now at the base of the original triangle. Gakpo's on the right. Wirtz is on the left. And if you want to also factor in Hugo Ekitike, well, it doesn't do that stupid shape. What you have is another triangle to look at. Just up here, where this is me 10, who should be where Gakpo is arguably. That's me striker. That's Gakpo. Fluidity, rotation, quality, intelligent footballers with quality, intelligent movements. And that is how you kill football teams. This is why I'm not worried about what Liverpool are going to do this season. That's why I'm not panicking about what's on an attacking front, and why I'm confident that you can fit Alexander Isak into this, because when you put smart footballers on the pitch together, they make it work. And Hugo Ekitike took his goal expertly well. Brilliant finish. And he was I was really impressed with him. Now again, I'm going to keep harping on about this. Our in-possession shape confuses me. So we got the back three form there. Like that. That's what we need. We need the back three. KK's being slightly more advanced, that can work. Then you need your two. Then you need your two. What you want in that case is 1-2 right there. Problem is, my other pivot is here. With my other pivot there, I can't progress the ball. I can't progress the ball well enough. There is a massive hole there. What we need to happen is someone sits here, and then that, in turn, well, especially if it's McAllister or Gravenberch, allows Kerkez to go there. Once he's played, it will be a pass in or a pass to Kerkez and a little 1-2, and Kerkez can then get forwards, and you've got the smart, intelligent DM to drop into that hole and cover it up. Again, there's nothing we could have done about it yesterday because the players weren't available. But if come Bournemouth, when I'm seeing McAllister available, and if come the games after when Gravenberch is back, I'm seeing the same problems, I'm going to keep harping on about it. But again, I had so much fun watching the left-hand triangle. They've now swapped positions again. Szoboszlai, one of the more advanced. Wirtz playing in the deep pocket. Gakpo is the wide player. And it means that you give Salah the space. The one thing we didn't do enough of yesterday was exploit that matchup. We very rarely got it to Salah when he was up against Tyreek Mitchell. The times we were giving it to Salah, Mark Gay jumped on him, and Mark Gay's a better defender than Tyreek Mitchell. we didn't exploit Salah versus Mitchell enough. And that's why people are saying Salah had a bad game. He just didn't get the ball enough. Now this is one of the more exciting attacks of the game. The counter-attack which Gakpo nearly scored. And it comes from a decent structure. So, for once, in the first 20 minutes, the back four is all in position. And my 2 pivot options are also ready to go. My 2 pivot options are also ready to go. So if Frimpong wants to play to Jones, he's got the capability to. If he wants to recycle it and play to Konate, he's got the capability to. We have a good structure at defending this point. What you have, though, is Jeremy Frimpong play the ball through the lines, a bit of decisiveness, plays it straight through the lines. You can't do that if you've got a bang average striker, because it bounces off them. What you have, though, in Hugo Ekitike is a very, very good footballer. And the touch he makes here is beyond world class. The little flick, perfectly weighted, perfectly done, takes out 1, 2, 3, 4. Hugo Ekitike takes out 4 Crystal Palace players with one little flick. 4 of them. That's special. That's really, really, really special. He flicks it onto Wirtz, and again, this is the difference between Szoboszlai and Wirtz. Szoboszlai last season would have taken a couple touches, started running into that area, and then eventually played the ball to Mohamed Salah. But in that time, he would have got back onto him. He would have been back. Instead, with Florian Wirtz, you've got someone quick, decisive. He takes one touch and is straight away playing that ball through him. Now, wouldn't you also, people, it might come across as a criticism if you think it's that way. I just think it's something he needs to work on slightly. Watch this area. Gakpo and Munoz. So, the moment Frimpong plays it forwards, as you can see, Munoz started running back. Gakpo's not ready. Look at Salah. Let me get over it again. Look at Salah, already on the move. Look at Wirtz, already on the move. They're anticipating it. They're reading what's going to happen. They're seeing what could potentially come from it. They are moving to attack the space. Gakpo, on the other hand, not ready yet. And what that ends up meaning is that once we've played it through, once we're on the counter, see how these two are bombing on? I want you to again look at this. Gakpo's not been caught up. Gakpo's lost the advantage that he could have potentially had, that Salah has, that Wirtz has by being ready on the feet. He's lost that advantage. Again, if you look here, he's playing catch up. Munoz is back in position, and it kills a real good opportunity for Gakpo to just receive the driven pass there. Instead, what ends up having to happen is Salah has to wait just a second and play the little curved ball in there. And it gets a little deflection, and Gakpo can't quite finish. There was a lot of positives in that move. I don't want it to come across as a negative. There was a lot of positives in that move. The fluidity, the speed at which we attacked. But I can't help but feel that Gakpo is slightly, if he's just slightly more on it, makes it 2-0. This is about long balls, which I might get onto, I might not, because I've already been going for about 50 minutes here. I didn't realise how many photos I'd taken when watching the game. This is again the attacking shape, a gripe I've got. I've told you we need to set up on a 3-2-5. Right now, both my fullbacks are there. One of my pivot players is in the 10. My 10 is in like an 8.5. I've only got 3 players back there. Mateta, I can already tell, is up on Van Dijk. I don't like this. I feel like too many times in the game, the wrong people were in the wrong areas. Fluidity is important, but it's got to be the right players that are allowed to be fluid. It's got to be the right players that are allowed to be fluid. This is a much better structure for it. You could really have him just there. If he's just there and he's slightly further back, it makes a bit more sense because he's there. But as it is, I've got no gripe with that. And again, Hugh Ekitike showing his quality with his hold-up play. But I remember now why I brought this up. And I'm going to say it again. Too many times, our fullbacks were caught ahead of the ball. Ekitike loses it here. Or I think Gakpo loses it here. I can't remember. And within 2 seconds, Kerkez has jumped for no reason. And Munoz has gone. And then I'm looking at Kerkez's man ahead of him. Frimpong and Eze so far ahead. So far ahead. Luckily, in the end, that one didn't lead to anything. Now, this is the goal. This is the Frimpong goal. And this is the type of pass we didn't use enough on the day. For whatever reason. Dominic Szoboszlai and Virgil van Dijk can play those long balls. And they are brilliant press relievers. And Frimpong, because of how he is a footballer, he's the one receiving out wide. Which means that, again, the matchup that I don't like, Mohamed Salah spent the game being marked by Mark Gahey, who done a very good job on him. But I want you, especially in this image and the next one, this is your man to watch. This is your man to watch. Ekitike starts there and ends up with that much space around him. He starts off with that much and ends with that much because his movement is so good. And I know we got a goal from it, but ultimately, that pass is going to be the one that we need to do more of. Ekitike is so smart to pull himself into that gap. And if that pass is fired in, you can just put it first time, bit of whip, bit of curl on it, into the corner. Liverpool are 2-1. Now, I know we scored from it, so I'm not trying to gripe about it. But again, these are just the things that I've looked at in the moment and went, that's something that we need to work on. I think, again, this is another one where I'm looking at us and I'm just a little bit confused on the setup. So Liverpool, going up against the back five, decided to try and match it with the back five of their own. This image doesn't quite show it well enough. But the only thing I want you to look at here is Munoz has gone on because Gakpo's not a wing back, he's not seen it. Why is Milos Kerkez at DM? Why is Kerkez there? I think he was on a man marking job I saw. I didn't like it. I felt Kerkez was just getting dragged out too much. Was not a fan of it whatsoever. The ball goes in behind. Yeah. He's not close enough because he's not a fullback. I have no idea where Kerkez is. No idea where Kerkez is at any point. But luckily it didn't cost us. This is what I was on about. Liverpool were playing at times, because we're in the sunlight, I'll use a different colour. A back six. It was a back six where we had Jones and Kerkez supposed to be man marking both Eze and Sarr. But the problem is it was Jones and Kerkez. And they're not good enough at that yet. Kerkez isn't. He's not got the discipline for it. Jones isn't good enough for that because he's an attacking midfielder. So too many times we were just too passive here. We have 4 up against 6. We're not going to win it there. We're not going to win anything there. And again, here's another one that we nearly got punished from. Again, it all starts from a long ball, played over the top towards Cody Gakpo. How is he picking it up in that much space? And again, I want you to look at the defensive setup here. So, straight away, Kerkez has lost his man, which is fine because you got players back there. I can't expect Kerkez to follow him there, but Kerkez has lost his man. My back line currently looks like that somewhere because Frimpong's over there. Why does my back line look like the Big Dipper in the fucking sky, the constellation? I didn't like how we tried to set up to match them yesterday. I think that Arne Slot got it wrong setting up in a back 5 thing, whatever he was doing yesterday, where Gakpo was dropping in as a wing back. I think that he needed to let Kerkez and Frimpong deal with the wing backs. Tyreek Mitchell didn't go forwards much. I think if anything, it had to be a case of, it's going to sound mad, Endo should have started in reality. Endo should have been dropping into to make a back 3, and then you can push the wing backs on to deal with their wing backs. That's how I would have done it personally. I didn't like whatever we were doing with Gakpo here because it meant he was too far back to get involved in many counter-attacks, and he doesn't have the IQ of knowing how touch tight to be on a wing back. Again, this one nearly got away with it, but again, maybe I'm being nitpicky here, but why is my back line here like so? I didn't like the structure of putting to the back line. This is looking at the attacking shape. I didn't mind this. I really didn't mind this because you penned in well enough. The fact is, he is back here. Matessa's back here, so we can't be out there as an escape. So you can afford to push people forwards in that case. I think this is another one where I just want to look at the movements as well. Verts, Kerkez, Gakpo. One of the times Kerkez got forwards and we had suitable cover back. They've rotated positions. Gakpo's now on the 10. Kerkez is making that run that you want your wingers to make. Verts out wide. Again, Ekitike showed really good movements again to just pull away. If I look again. Right there, he's not got much space. By the time he takes the shot, Gay's going in to make the tackle, but Ekitike gave himself a lot more space to work with. Ekitike's movement really impressed me yesterday. He's a very smart footballer at finding these pockets, at finding these gaps that he can exploit. I really enjoyed watching that yesterday from him. I thought there was a lot to like yesterday from Hugo Ekitike, and I hope that it continues in the future. I really, really do. This is, again though, I think that this one is me trying to point out just how flawed I think the backline thing was. Why is Gakpo playing at centre back? Why is Gakpo at centre back? Why is it not, Curtis? I get we've signed Florian Wirtz, but Florian Wirtz is going to have to make some sacrifices at points. In games like this, I need him to be dropping in a little bit more. And we can push, Curtis into the backline if needs be. I didn't like this whole Gakpo joins the backline thing. I don't think it made much sense because of who Cody is as a footballer. This is, again, just a gripe I've got. Szoboszlai makes a silly mistake here, and we nearly get punished. He shouldn't be making this mistake, but you can tell it's a mistake made by someone who isn't a DM. Someone who's used to playing DM here takes one touch and pushes it through, either out wide or through there. Szoboszlai ends up taking about 4 touches and running himself into trouble before passing it there. Look at the way it starts. That's how much space he has to start with. And that's how much space he has to finish. He gets boxed out, but when you're getting boxed out, it means that you've got options. He tries to go forward in this situation because he's an attacking midfielder, and attacking midfielders are always really looking for that forward pass. In reality, the moment he gets to there, and Will Hughes is on him, he needs to go back there, or he needs to knock it out wide. A mistake like that nearly cost us. Because losing the ball there in that situation put us in a 5-on-3 effectively, because Szoboszlai was on the floor for a second and he had to get back up. Now, we defended relatively alright. It forced a save, but we ended up in a 4-on-2 on my centre-backs. I get Virgil van Dijk and Ibu Konate weren't great yesterday. Why the fuck are we putting them in 4v2s? That can't happen. That cannot happen. This was the equaliser. And again, this is where I'm going to look at everything. Why is McAllister the deeper one out of him and Endo? Endo was the one who's played 250 career games as a centre-back. Endo should be the one doing the auxiliary centre-back job. McAllister should be given more of the freedom. You can tell McAllister doesn't suit the role because Gakpo's somewhat got the ball here. He loses the ball. But he's jumped out. McAllister's jumped out because he's a midfielder. That's what midfielders do. Because he's jumped out, Liverpool have went from defending the back 5 to the back 4. Van Dijk, one can reasonably argue he should do better. What he's seen though, if I use the other tool, the field of view tool, he is seeing McAllister jump out more so than he's seeing Ismaila Sarr. What needs to happen at this point is Szoboszlai needs to jump onto Wharton and try and bail out McAllister here. And McAllister needs to ease off and put his arse in reverse that way. That's what needs to happen. What ends up happening is McAllister tries to press. Szoboszlai just sort of stands there. And Adam Wharton, with the quality of passes he's got, plays it through. And this angle shows it. Virgil van Dijk, if you look at his field of view, he's not seeing Ismaila Sarr. He's seen McAllister jump out. He's seen McAllister go up out of this defensive line. And he's went, right, we're jumping up. He should be doing better in that situation. Virgil van Dijk's the captain at the back. He shouldn't be jumping on what McAllister's doing. But he's seen McAllister jump to press. So he's thinking, I need to go because the back line's got a gap. He hasn't spoken to anyone though. So he's fucked. He's fucked. He's fucked. The ball goes through. Ismaila Sarr scores. But it's because of McAllister not knowing how to play the role, which is fine because he's not a centre-back, which is why I get back to the original point and get back to the title of the video. Arne Slot got it wrong at points yesterday. Not putting Wataru Endo as this auxiliary centre-back that we had at points was getting it wrong. He was getting it wrong and I didn't like it. I really didn't like elements of that. And the final thing I want to look at, again, it's just looking at this setup with the back line. This is what led to the handball thing. There's our back 5 again. Why is McAllister the one on the back 5? Why is McAllister the one on the back 5? Why is McAllister the one trying to physically deal with someone much quicker than running backwards? In reality, Maka should be here. Endo should be in the middle. So we are. Maka should be here. Endo should be there. And Van Dijk should be there. That's how it should have been. This is shit. And it should have been a penalty. Endo doesn't close them down properly. McAllister isn't quick enough or strong enough. And Van Dijk is trying to do a fucking offside line again. When he's playing everyone on anyway. And he was onside anyway. The back line needs to play together more. That's one thing I've realised. The back line needs to play together more. It needs to get more settled. Because right now we're seeing a lot of mistakes being made from a lack of communication and a lack of chemistry. That can get worked on. That can get fixed. But I didn't like the way Arne Slot set us up tactically yesterday. Especially after taking Hugh Ekitike off. I thought that it was poor. And I thought it ultimately cost us the game. I really, really, really did. But people, I'm going to call it there for the first one of these. I'm going to be trying to do these after every game. Gives you a little bit of insight into how I look at how we play football and all that. And I'll be back consistently streaming. I'm probably going to do something on the centre backs soon. That'll probably be my next video because I think that's the one that's going to get done quickly. If we get a sudden thingy bomber, you know, what's it called? A Alexander Isak bomber. I will I'll get on for that. And I also probably need to do a bit of an analysis video on how Ekitike, Isak and Virts will all work together because people think it can't work when it can. I've got stuff to do. I've got plenty of stuff to do. I am going to be back now, people. Now that I've got all the software set up, I'm going to be back. This is going to redirect you to Sheik. So make sure you go and show Sheik all the love and support. Love yous, people. Leave yous. I'm on Hassam's channel tomorrow, 1:30. Catch us in a bit, people.